Hello, everyone. Thanks once again for joining us today. And we're happy that you could join us on this webinar on using segmentation to create targeted online experiences. So we'd like to give you a little bit of insight. Optimizely Connect is a webinar series that we conduct with our best-in-class technology partners. The purpose is to give you some insight into how different technologies work together effectively so that everyone who is either using them already or considering integrating these can understand the ways that they can be used to optimize your customers' user experience. These webinars will highlight use cases, best practices, and give you actionable insights that will help you uncover ways to continue turning data into action. So today we're joined by Jen Brown, Senior Business Consultant at Telium, Amara Shah, Senior Technical Support Representative at Optimizely, and myself, Stephanie Perozzo, as your host for this webinar. So today we'll start with reasons why targeted experiences are important, followed by insights from Jen on how to build rich audiences. Finally, we'll show how you can leverage these audiences using Optimizely to create personalized experiences, and we're going to close off with Q&A. So a few notes on housekeeping. This webinar will take approximately 45 minutes, and you can feel free to ask questions at any time. There's a question panel on the GoToWebinar panel, which you can use to send your questions, and we'll get back to these at the end of the webinar. And obviously share them with everybody else, and if not, we'll get in touch with you after the webinar with regards to your specific question if we're not able to cover it in this time. The slides and the recordings will also be sent out after the webinar, so no need to worry about that. We'll definitely send you all the information that we've presented today. So let's get down to business. Why target online experiences? So a report by Gartner highlights that 89% of the companies will focus on customer experience in order to gain a competitive advantage. This shows a dramatic shift, indicating that companies are no longer competing on price or product. If you think about it, when your competition is only a click away, you have to compete on customer experience. So you may want to ask yourself, how has your company looked at using personalization? Are you actually using personalization currently? And what are the primary areas of your business that would be impacted by personalization? Also, you may want to ask, what are the biggest risks you've identified in not implementing some form of personalization? So your customers' expectations are changing at lightning speed. And in order for you to gain their loyalty, experiences should be personalized. On the same note, a study shows that business leaders see the need for serving personalized customers' experiences and included it in their top 3 priorities for 2015. So as you can see, this relationship is moving beyond transaction only. The idea is great, and it's good to see that customer demands and companies' intentions are aligned. However, this also does put a lot more pressure on companies, and they will need to start looking at ways to manage these relationships at scale. So just to give you a brief example, for both consumers and companies, a Netflix-style experience would be very close to an ideal online experience. As you can see here, based on just watching behavior, I get recommendations of what would be interesting for me. So watch out. If you watch $1 Million Arm, you're going to see Aloha and Waterboy as recommendations by Netflix. In any case, it's offering a personalized experience, and judging by what it is that I'm actually interested in, is offering different options so that I can continue watching through Netflix. Another example is the airline industry. As you may know, they're really familiar with personalization. They offer you a status where you can have, for example, silver or gold, and you collect points. They give you a credit card, which you can actually buy your ticket with them, through them. And they offer you all these different means at airports, such as the lounge or any other kind of opportunities to keep you engaged with them throughout your journey. And I mean, when you have all these different privileges with a brand that you feel comfortable with, you'll probably stick with them so that you can keep on getting these kind of benefits whenever you travel. So this is just one little example of how companies are creating targeted experiences. So here's just a brief definition of what segmentation is, and it's the practice of grouping different types of people based on needs or characteristics. We've included a blog post that we posted on the Optimizely blog on 7 essential customer segments for your e-commerce website. I would really recommend everyone to read this because it just kind of breaks it down into all these different aspects and gives you actionable segments that you would be able to use when you're trying to create targeted experiences. So let's just go over what are potential segments. When you have a website and you have somebody that's new coming to your website versus somebody that's returning, you could probably serve different experiences to each one of these groups. For example, somebody that's new, you might want to get them an offer so that they stick with your website. However, somebody that's returning, you will want to show similar products that what they've been looking at before because these appeal to them. This is something that they've already searched with you. Another example is client versus non-client. This is, for example, the airline industry. When you're a client, you have all access, all benefits to everything. However, when you're a non-client, they're probably going to want you to become a client and sign up with them. Another example, bargain hunters versus heavy spenders. Has somebody searched cheap tickets or sale jackets? You will be able to serve targeted experiences to them specifically. When you think of heavy spenders, they might just be browsing through your website and actually look at much more costly goods, so you can serve experiences based on that. Another thing is location. So imagine being somewhere where it's rainy versus sunny and what you would be able to show your customer there. Another thing, source type. Where did they come from? Did they come from a Google search? Did they come from a social media site? And lastly, just another example of potential segments is recently purchased. Did somebody come and buy in the last 30 days? What were they buying? You know, what would you be able to serve them as an experience next time so that they keep on returning to your site rather than going to your competitors? So, as we can tell, and just looking by our own online experiences, most companies today, they want to personalize. But it's hard. So there's the little caveat. And one other thing here is that you can try to personalize, but if you're not doing it right, then you can also be losing customers in that same go. So now I'd like to pass it on to Jen Brown. She's Senior Business Consultant at Telium, a seasoned marketeer in digital marketing, and she also was an Telium and Optimizely customer before joining Telium. So over to you, Jen.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for that introduction, Stephanie. Much appreciated. So as Stephanie mentioned, with regards to potential segments, this can be very difficult. So to answer that, today I'm going to talk about how we can capture and leverage customer data to fuel targeted testing and personalization. And what I mean by that is giving us the ability to market to an individual throughout their journey, creating that one-to-one experience to increase revenue or retain loyalty. So we have the ability to segment once and engage customers everywhere. And at Telium, we define this as atmospheric marketing, using what we know about an individual across every touch point. And so by collecting visitor interaction data, we can not only discover who they are, but we can join the dots, so to speak, so that we can take further action on this information in real time at every touch point. And these touch points can include your website, your mobile applications, and they might even be through advertising channels such as paid search or display. Okay, so how are we able to achieve atmospheric marketing? Well, the thing that we need to do is to create a unified view of our customers. And we really need to create an inventory of all of that first-party data. So once this inventory is complete, we then need to really work on a strategy that enables us to enrich that data, to segment on it, and to connect it with other data sources residing within our organization so that we can establish a cohesive view of customers at any point. But if we look back at our previous roles, if I look back at my previous roles, or we look to analyse the current solutions that we're working with, unfortunately we don't always have that same view of our customer at every turn. So if we look at email, for example, we might have a good view of our customer, but not the complete picture. So especially if you're listening today and you're from a B2B organisation, then the customer may have shared their personal email, but perhaps not their company one, and we know that the challenges that that can create. You know, on social, we might have a small snapshot of a person's profile, but we're not really connected to anything else and gathering any information about them other than that. So as we take a look at the other areas of our business, we realise that we may have an incomplete view of our customers. Or perhaps worse still, we might have data that's been inaccurately merged together, resulting in an incorrect picture that we may be unaware of. And in some instances, we may just not have a view at all. So in reality, when we attempt to really engage our customers, leveraging what we know about them, or what they care about, it can become really difficult to do that across every channel. So if we take a step back from our day jobs and recall the last online journey or purchase we engaged in, we know that our aspirations are to engage with a single brand that are in tune with the previous actions that we've already taken. So as customers, I'm sure that we don't consider this very challenging concept of data silos that we know exists within most businesses, and that's a really easy trap to fall into. But we just simply see a disjointed and sometimes frustrating experience. So for example, if I personally express an interest in a particular dress that might be quite expensive, and then I go and purchase it online, not only do I not want to have that argument with my husband that I purchased said dress, but I also don't want him to be reminded of it on all the devices we use at home, on every site or Facebook. Equally, if I sign up for an annual paid service online, I don't expect to receive an upgrade customer call the same day asking me if I'd like to add on another service or enhance my service in some way. But in reality, to avoid these scenarios is easier said than done. So how do we solve this problem of fragmented customer data? How do we join the dots so that we actually get a complete picture of our customer in real time across all channels? So what I'd like to do today is to spend a significant portion of my time focused on Tealium's concept of a platform to manage all of your customer data. And what we're really looking at here is the intersection between your audiences and the actions that you wish to take on them. So your audiences make up a diverse group of customers and visitors who are currently engaged with you, or the group of visitors or prospects that you wish to engage with as well. And the actions are those actions that are triggered to enhance the engagement with that audience. So for example, you may want to take action by sending a follow-up email, or you may want to retarget them through display, or as this webinar is particularly focused on, you may wish to create a personalized experience or targeted experiment in Optimizely. But ultimately, what we're talking about here is relying on a centralized source of customer data that's clean, reliable, and readily available to take action on in real time. So just to get into that in a little bit more detail, as we think about some of the different applications that are probably managed by different teams, most likely in different geographical locations, it can become really difficult to imagine how aspects of our customer data can flow into that each individual channel, and I can relate to this personally. So for a moment, I'd like us to think about some of those channels within your business that can contribute to the single customer view. And the list may be longer than you think. This is not just about the areas that you own, such as your website or your mobile apps, but also includes the channels that you're using to engage and advertise to. For example, paid search, social, display. And the data capture also can extend to channels that are less digitally orientated, such as being in store, calls through a call or contact center, and of course not forgetting your analytics platform. And each solution, platform, application contributes to the wider picture of that customer. Each element adds just a little bit that builds up a much bigger jigsaw puzzle. In other words, it can become difficult to stitch it all back together again without an overarching customer data strategy and process. So for today, we're focusing on one of the most high impacting results of taking this approach to your customer data, this single customer data view. And of course, that's targeted testing and personalization, in this case with Optimizely. So we may wish to experiment using a targeted test to specific audiences based on a previous engagement or purchase. And then we may also wish to personalize the experience based on a prior action or lifetime value. So quick background on Tealium for those of you who may not know about us. Tealium's customer data platform is comprised of three significant areas: Tealium IQ, which enables you to manage your data and your tags for vendors across all your customer touchpoints; Audience Stream, which allows the creation of real-time visitor and customer segments, which you can then leverage through third-party applications and platforms such as Optimizely; and last but not least, Data Access, where we can take all of that rich qualitative data, the event data from IQ, as the name suggests, the audience data from Audience Stream, and we can take that data and we can leverage that within our own analytics solutions, our BI tools, so that we can gain even more insightful information about from that data, and that, you know, that could change the future direction of our marketing activity. But today I'm going to focus on the combined impact of IQ and Audience Stream. So taking a look at IQ in detail, first of all. So as some of you might be aware, Tealium IQ is the world's largest enterprise tag management solution. But please don't take my word for it. There's been a recent announcement from Ghostery that's positioning Tealium as the largest platform, so I do encourage you to go and take a look at that. IQ enables us to unlock the data that's available from our web and mobile experiences via 850 plus, it's probably more than that, it goes up daily I think, that enable turnkey integrations that enable digital marketing people and teams to easily launch and manage every vendor tag required within an intuitive graphical interface. And we're really taking a wizard style approach to this, so it does dramatically reduce the time, effort and resource that's required to deploy any new technology, which of course can have fantastic impacts on the business. Now, Tealium IQ and Audience Stream is underpinned by something we refer to in Tealium as the universal data layer. This is the glue that holds everything together, and I'm going to talk quite a lot about this. It's so important. What it enables us to do is to standardize all of your data across every vendor to ensure consistency. So if I take that concept of the universal data layer and move into Tealium Audience Stream, Audience Stream takes advantage of this universal data layer and any other data that you have to describe what your visitors and your customers are doing to create a single view at every point. It enables you to create action across your vendor ecosystem, and what I mean by this is all of the technologies that you use to engage your customers. So for example, your email marketing platform, marketing automation, content management system, DMP, and of course personalization and testing solutions such as Optimizely. Even better than this, Audience Stream allows you to stitch together who someone is across multiple channels and diverse devices, which enables you to get not only a better understanding of who they are and what they care about, but to give you a larger, richer data set to take action on. Audience Stream then enables you to create audiences from this enriched data set and in real time trigger actions immediately based on time or rules that you can set up yourself in an intuitive way. And then last but not least, Audience Stream enables you to take action on these audiences across any of your vendors to enhance conversion rates, order value, reduce attrition, reduce contact rates, whatever is the most important KPI to your organization. So what I'd like to do now that I've given you that overview of our solutions is to just give you a quick product walkthrough so that I can show you how you can leverage the data layer from Telium IQ and create audiences in Audience Stream for use in Optimizely to deliver personalized experiences or targeted tests. I'm going to begin with a brief walkthrough of Telium IQ, our tag management solution. Of course, if you'd like to take a deep dive into IQ Audience Stream, do please reach out to the team at Optimizely or myself, and we can arrange to do this at a later date. But for purposes of this webinar, I'm going to keep it very high level. So as mentioned earlier, underpinning our customer data platform is this universal data layer. And the data layer is a set of sources and attributes that drive every part of your company's web experience. These data points can be leveraged across multiple applications and platforms to fuel your marketing campaigns and programs. So in this view that I'm showing you here, I've highlighted data sources originating from analytics. So this includes page name. And the reason that I mention this specifically is that I'm going to reference this later within Audience Stream, and I shall be using it to build a segment that can be actioned within Optimizely. But before I go ahead and do that, just to illustrate a further point about IQ, Telium's intuitive interface makes it straightforward to add data sources into your data layer, because I can appreciate this sounds quite a daunting task, but this is more easily achieved through our import bundles, which is a wizard-style approach that enables you to automatically pull in data sources from your content management systems. You can probably see on the left-hand side there we have a list of some of the most popular solutions in the industry. Or you can cherry-pick data sources from our standard bundles that are prevalent to your business. So once this universal data layer is established, these sources and attributes can be leveraged within Audience Stream to enrich and take action upon in Optimizely to develop personalized experiences and targeted tests, as I've been mentioning. But if I leave IQ now and move into Audience Stream, here you can see the Audience Stream interface, which is the first step to enriching that first-party data that I've just been referring to within the data layer by capturing unique characteristics of your visitors, building a richer picture of them. So this can be utilized by utilizing the attributes suggested by Telium. It's a bit like Blue Peter this. Here's a few that we prepared earlier. But of course you can create your own visitor attributes that are more prevalent to your business. So we can then take those attributes, group them together, and define simple rules to create audiences. So to illustrate this point, and tying in with a case study Amara from Optimizely is going to present in a few minutes, I'm highlighting the metric attribute average order value. Now the average order value attribute has been defined using two other attributes, lifetime value and lifetime orders. So this is a rolling metric. Each time the customer purchases a new product, a calculation is performed to update the lifetime average order value. And this data is captured whenever the confirmation page fires and calling the data source or the object I highlighted within Telium IQ earlier, the page name. And in this customer's case, the confirmation page includes the word success. So there's a little rule there that says whenever this data object is called and the word success is in the URL, please fire this rule. Now for your sake and mine, I've kept the audience that we're building very simple. And what I've done is, as I said in the previous slide, is group these attributes together to give this rolling metric for your business. So I've defined this or named this audience as high spenders, so that any visiting customer that automatically joins the audience has an average order value of over 100. So whenever that happens, the person automatically joins the audience. But if they fall below that threshold at any point, they're automatically removed from the audience. So you don't need to worry about managing people coming in and out of the audiences. No manual intervention is required. So now that we have this enriched data from the universal data layer in IQ through the creation and grouping of attributes. I like to call them characteristics, actually. And we've leveraged these characteristics to define an audience. We're now ready to take action on this special segment of people within Optimizely. Now, this action within Optimizely is achieved by utilizing one of Telium's connectors directly from within Audience Stream. And at this point, the Telium part is already done. So I would like to hand over to Stephanie and Amara from Optimizely again to explain how Telium and Optimizely work together and how an integration has been achieved so that you can leverage audience stream segments to enhance your personalization and testing programs.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks. That was a really comprehensive overview of how you can actually create audiences within Telium and really create specific segments that allow you to actually later target experiences. That's what Amara is going to speak about. She is our senior technical support representative, and she has a lot of experience of helping customers utilize these integrations as well as analyzing the results. So, yeah. Just another point, I would like to just remind everyone, please submit your questions so that we can get back to them in a couple of minutes once we're done. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that introduction, Stephanie, and the overview of the Telium platform, Jen. So Optimizely, as most of you know, is a fantastic A/B testing platform, and I'm going to start off by briefly covering some of its core features. We will then be walking through what the integration entails, and we can then end with a couple of good use cases. So as you can see here, you're looking at the Optimizely editor. On the top, we have the visual editor, or what we call the WYSIWYG. It'll allow you to do basic editing of the content on your site. So like you can see in the drop-down to the right, it allows you to easily insert images, rearrange elements, edit hyperlinks, and the styling on your page. So this makes it like a super easy and intuitive platform for marketers and product managers. Beyond that, as you can see at the bottom, we have something called the code editor, which gives developers, for example, the ability to add more complex code or even edit the code that was already generated through the WYSIWYG. So all in all, incredibly powerful tool that you can use to make your testing as complex or simple as you need. And so, as Jen described earlier, you can build fantastic personalized groups or treatments through the Telium platform. So things like a high spender, those things are things that Optimizely may or may not be able to determine on its own. But what we do have are some built-in audiences out of the box regardless. So to name a few, as you can see on the right, we have cookie targeting, we have query parameter targeting, and as you can tell, query parameter targeting could become very useful when you have a whole bunch of campaigns that you want to target. We also have things like targeting that you can do based on refer URLs or custom JS conditions. And so it's really easy. All you need to do is actually drag the relevant conditions into the audience builder. And then in this particular example, we're using one of our built-in conditions, device type. We also have others like browser types to segment by. So, you do your Firefox versus Safari, mobile versus non-mobile. So again, a lot of power to segment already. And then as you can imagine, this coupled with audience stream makes the content we show to our users even more relevant. So let's dive into that now. So here we have, obviously, so in order to leverage audiences in Telium, we need to make them available as segments in Optimizely. So once you have your Telium and Optimizely tags on your page, things become super simple. You just go to your Optimizely homepage, click on the Integrations tab, and turn on the integration in Optimizely. And then you will be prompted to enter your Telium account ID, which you can find by simply logging into your Telium account. Don't worry, we're adding a quick link at the end, which we will share that goes into more of the details of what the integration entails. So now, audiences live on your homepage. So once you have the integration enabled, all you need to do is actually navigate back to the homepage and click on the Audience tab. And so once you've actually selected the new audience and the integration is enabled, you'll now be able to see your Telium conditions in the audience builder. And so depending on how granular you want to get, you might want to couple your Telium treatment with another condition that you might have available in Optimizely. And so in this particular example, it doesn't just make sense to have tagged a user as an in-store buyer within Telium. We also want the user to be logged in at the same time. Or rather, we're actually targeting users who are not matching this in-store buyer, so everyone else. So again, it's all really how specific you want your treatment to be and completely in your control. So great, that was all good. We got all the theoretical details down. Now let's actually get into some real life use cases here. So I'm going to go through a couple use cases in different verticals. What we can do is start with the retail vertical. So say through Telium, you've defined a user as a high spender. So if you look at this Nordstrom example, and of course this is purely hypothetical, you see that their default experience in the lower right-hand corner, they're advertising a sweater at $58. But now it might be possible to bump up the average order value if you know that the user is a high spender and they aren't as price sensitive. So you might want to show them this faux leather trim cardigan at $180 instead. And so you've already personalized your experience for the particular type of buyer that you have. In this use case, we have a large media provider based out of the US leveraging the audience stream integration to personalize their all access page. And so in this case, the premise was that displaying sign-up pages based on visitor interests will cause more people to sign up. It was targeted to a Telium audience stream segment that included people who had already seen at least 4 web pages related to soaps or TV series. And so for those fitting the criteria, the landing page was personalized to cater the images and the copies to those TV series. And the result was actually an increase in clicks to the Start Your Free Week button by 13%, as well as an increase in people going to the register page by 8%. So some really good validation here of how a personalized experience can be used to convert your users better. Another example in the media vertical is to get users to subscribe, and any B2B business would actually understand this better. So the end goal might be to just get users' email addresses. So in this case, the default experience just shows standard content in terms of how you can subscribe. But as you can see, it doesn't really cater to the particular audience that might be on the site. So in this case, if you use the Telium audience stream integration to identify a user as a sports fan, you might not want to default them to what is shown on the left. You can actually tweak the content into something that would catch the reader's eye and have a better chance at converting them. So instead of just saying get access to New York Times, you can actually say get enhanced access to digital sports content from the New York Times. This then, coupled with an existing condition, Optimizely becomes an even more powerful use case that we visited briefly earlier. In this case, we're using the user's location, and we've identified it as San Francisco, can be added to the main call to action button. And so instead of just saying get home delivery, you now have the ability to say get home delivery to San Francisco. So as you can see, this integration provides an opportunity to offer a much more personalized experience that is more likely to have your visitors engage and uses several subtle messages that speaks to their interest. Travel, again, is another area where you can apply this. So say, for example, you are the Four Seasons Hotel, and through Audience Stream, your user has been qualified for the couple segment. It probably doesn't make sense to show them the default homepage, which is a generic bedroom hotel. So in this case, you might want to customize the image copy to replace it with something more relevant, like the one shown on the right. Similarly, if you've identified your users as family travelers, your users might be much more inspired by an image that speaks to the category of users rather than the default image of a king-size bed. And to really, lastly, drill the point across, if you've identified your users as golf travelers, an image that actually encompasses a golf resort has a much better chance of converting your users in comparison to the default experience. So, there you have it. Optimizely by itself makes it really easy to make changes to your site, regardless of what your role is at the company. Coupled with a product like Audience Stream, you have the opportunity to give your users a really personalized experience. So that's it here. I'm going to give it back to Stephanie.
Great, thanks so much, Amara. That's really cool to see how you can actually target different experiences, also across different verticals, and yeah, see how you can get results from that. So now, thanks all for listening. We're gonna go to the Q&As. And we've received some from the question box, so thanks a lot for everyone that submitted something. We're gonna go to George. Thanks for submitting your question. His question is, what customer data would you target the most during e-commerce transaction? For example, would you invest in a newsletter, a subscription, in social, or something else? I think as a marketeer, I think it really depends on, so I'll just take this question for now. I think it really depends on what you have available to you and where you have most of your customer data in. Ultimately, what you want to do is, from your analytics, grab this customer data and then see what is most applicable. If you're, for example, Nordstrom and your business model runs around, high order value and high spenders, do you think that those high spenders are in social channels, or are they subscribed to your newsletter? So it's taking these different things into consideration, and once you have all that information on your customer, you would be able to define which tactic and which channel you would target them with. I hope that this is helpful. If not, we can also take it offline, and then I'll get back to you and we can continue with other questions. Thanks a lot, George. I hope this was useful. Another question from Ellen. So it looks like you can map audiences from Telium to Optimizely and access them within Optimizely. But what about if you want to see Optimizely data in Telium? I'll leave this over to Amara or Jen.
Sure, I can take this one, Stephanie. So short answer, no, not by default. The integration was definitely built to map your audience stream segments into an Optimizely audience and be able to access via the Optimizely interface. But that doesn't mean that it's not possible. You can definitely still, we have a really powerful JavaScript API and REST API that actually gives you the ability with just a little bit of client-side JavaScript to access all the information Optimizely and map it back to any other platform that you would like. So yeah, not impossible, but not built. Okay,
thank you, Amara. Just another question. We have about 2 minutes, so I'll go to this one. Thanks, Max, for sending this over. Is there a limit to the number of attributes that can be associated to create an audience in Telium? Okay, so I guess I'll leave this up to Jen.
Thanks, Stephanie. So in theory, no. We can build out very complex rules using if statements, but there is a practical limit because of the audience size. If the more conditions that you add or apply, the smaller that audience size will be, so it can take a much longer time to achieve a meaningful impact to your business. So there's a balance between, getting a very specific audience where you can do targeted messaging to, but also leaving yourself enough room to get meaningful results from it too.
And just to chime in there, if you already know that your targeting is going to be extremely specific due to the number of conditions that you're going to be adding, it might be worth considering just lowering your statistical significance that you set right from the beginning. So even though, that may increase the likelihood of false positives, you will at least be able to get quicker experiments, as Optimizely will require a lower sample size. Another suggestion would be to test more high impact changes in general, so that it's more likely to have a bigger impact on your conversion rate. Yeah.
Great. So thanks both. I see that we still have a few more questions, but we're running out of time. So I would like to thank everyone for attending. We'll get back to your questions via email or call you up. And before ending the webinar, we just wanted to remind you that we'll be hosting the next Optimizely Connect on February 9th with Localytics. In this webinar, we'll cover the challenges faced in the omnichannel experience and how you can leverage the use of your analytics platforms to understand your audience better. Thanks, Jen and Amara, for your participation today. Really, thanks for sharing all your insights and your expertise.